In the ever-evolving landscape of telecommunications, giants rise and sometimes they fall. But what happened to Sprint Mobile? Is Sprint still around, or is Sprint Mobile gone forever? Today we unravel the intriguing story behind the rise, the struggles, and the ultimate question, is Sprint gone? In 2019, they were a massive telecommunications company with millions of customers relying on their wireless services. However, things took an unexpected turn when their competitor, T-Mobile, acquired them in a monumental $26 billion deal the following year. This move by T-Mobile not only led to the end of the Sprint brand, but also a shutdown of its network. So what happened to Sprint that led to it being bought out? Well, before this acquisition, Sprint was facing a challenging situation. For over a decade, Sprint faced continuous losses and difficulties in retaining customers. It wasn't a company people had warm feelings for. Surveys measuring customer satisfaction revealed that Sprint was at the bottom among the four major wireless carriers. Their reputation was tarnished, and they were dealing with numerous problems. Analysts had concerns that without the acquisition, they might have faced bankruptcy or restructuring. To understand Sprint's journey, let's start with its origin. Sprint's journey dates back surprisingly far, even to the 1800s. This actually predates the famous patent for the telephone by Alexander Graham Bell. It started as part of a railroad company, the South Pacific Company. Initially, they set up telegraph lines along railroad tracks to enable communication between dispatchers and engineers. Over time, these lines evolved into telephone lines. For around a century, AT&T held a monopoly over the telephone industry, but things changed in the 1980s when the government forced AT&T to divest its local telephone companies, shaking up the industry dynamics. This shift allowed customers to choose their long-distance carrier rather than being locked into AT&T automatically. This change sparked an opportunity for new players in the long-distance market. South Pacific saw this opening and cleverly utilized their existing lines to create a long-distance network. They named it the South Pacific Railroad Internal Network Telecommunications, or simply Sprint. Telecommunications is a realm of mergers and acquisitions due to its expensive infrastructure and scaling benefits. Sprint's history is peppered with significant events that shaped its trajectory. In 1982, GTE, a company owning local phone providers, acquired the original Sprint network. This marked the beginning of Sprint's transformation journey. 1986 saw another significant step as the combined company merged with United Telecom. This merger established a 50-50 joint venture. By 1992, United Telecom fully acquired the venture. Despite their lack of profitability, these companies had a vision. They believed that by combining their resources and expanding their infrastructure, they could take on the dominant AT&T. Slowly but surely, Sprint began to attract more customers, finally seeing profitability by the end of the 1980s. What made them stand out compared to AT&T? It was their fiber optic network, a technology not widely used by competitors like AT&T. This unique advantage became their selling point, depicted on their logo, featuring horizontal lines symbolizing fiber optics. They even ran an impactful ad campaign where a dropped pin's sound was heard clearly at the other end of the line, demonstrating the power of their technology. After a series of events, Sprint found itself in the spotlight again, this time for merging with Centel in 1993. This merger marked a significant moment because it made Sprint the first big company to offer local, long-distance, and wireless services all in one package. This was a big deal since wireless services were becoming a major part of the industry. With the wireless market growing rapidly, Sprint didn't want to be left behind. In 2005, they made a move of their own and acquired a wireless company called Nextel for a whopping $35 billion. This brought about a change in the company's name to Sprint Nextel. You might remember the yellow logo they used. It stuck around for quite a while. Now, this might sound like a smart decision, but looking back, it turned out to be one of the biggest blunders in business history. In fact, many experts believe that this decision was a major reason behind Sprint's downfall. What made this acquisition so disastrous? Sprint and Nextel were using different technologies for their services. This created a problem because they couldn't easily combine their networks. This led to a lot of inefficiencies in their systems, making their services less reliable and causing frustration for their customers. It's like they were trying to mix oil and water. Sprint and Nextel had completely different corporate cultures. Nextel was all about being quick and energetic, while Sprint was more traditional and conservative. Imagine trying to dance to two different tunes at the same time. It wasn't a harmonious situation. Sprint had given certain affiliates the exclusive rights to sell things under the Sprint brand name in specific areas, but then things got messy. Sprint started selling Nextel products in those same areas. This led to legal battles and lawsuits. In some cases, Sprint thought it was just easier to buy these affiliates instead of dealing with lawsuits. This ended up costing them almost $15 billion. Their marketing strategy didn't help matters either. They continued selling products under both the Sprint and Nextel brands. When they started advertising as Sprint together with Nextel, it just confused everyone even more. But wait, there's more. A lot of the top people at Nextel left the company, and the CEO resigned in 2007 as the problems continued to pile up. This all led to Sprint's stock market price plummeting. If you'd invested in Sprint back then, the situation would be disheartening. Imagine investing $100 in Sprint stock in the year they acquired Nextel. In just 5 years, that $100 would have become less than $20. In 2008, they reported that a huge chunk of the money they spent on Nextel, almost $35 billion, had basically vanished. In 2013, they finally decided to close down the Nextel network and remove Nextel from their name. Around the same time, a Japanese company named SoftBank mostly acquired Sprint. They paid more than $20 billion for it. While this may sound great, let's put this in a different perspective. Nextel itself was acquired for a staggering $35 billion, and now, when you look at the numbers, you could see how much value they lost over time. To add some more context, before the Sprint-Nextel merger, another company called WorldCom offered to buy Sprint for an astonishing $115 billion, but that deal was blocked by the Department of Justice, who were concerned about less competition in the market. Still, even using that benchmark, it's clear that Sprint lost a lot of value, almost $100 billion, over those 15 years. So it's safe to say that Sprint's reputation took a serious hit. Among all the major wireless carriers, they ended up having the worst reputation. How bad was the reputation, you ask? Well, in 2017, they landed on Yahoo's list of America's most disliked companies at number 10. The next year, USA Today listed them at number 7. Clearly, Sprint was not winning any popularity contests. In 2019, a survey called the American Customer Satisfaction Index, which specifically evaluated network quality, positioned Sprint at the bottom among the major providers. Now, while Sprint had over 50 million subscribers once, it was still actually the smallest among the top providers, so it's understandable that a smaller company might have some challenges. But there are definitely bigger reasons for their network struggles. Remember that ill-fated Nextel acquisition? Well, it turns out that it wasn't just a financial disaster. The resources and time that went into integrating Nextel prevented Sprint from focusing on what mattered most, enhancing their network. Additionally, they made some questionable technology decisions. For instance, instead of investing in LTE, they went for WiMAX, which didn't become the industry standard. They eventually had to shut down their WiMAX network in 2015. As time went on, Sprint faced a peculiar issue. While they were gaining new customers, they were also losing existing ones. This seemed to stem from their approach of attracting people with special offers and discounts, but then losing them once those promotions ended. This kind of customer turnover isn't sustainable and made it tough for Sprint to stay profitable. However, all the woes of the company ended when T-Mobile acquired Sprint. This deal took years to materialize, but it saved Sprint from collapsing and going bankrupt. Considering Sprint's history, from their remarkable achievements in the long-distance market and their legacy stretching back to the 1800s, it's clear they had their moments. However, that Nextel decision turned out to be a monumental mistake. It derailed their path from long-distance success to wireless prominence. But it's not just that one decision. It's the culmination of various factors that led to their downfall, as we discussed. Another company that was on the verge of bankruptcy and collapse is Pepsi. However, Pepsi managed to pull itself out of deep water and survive. Click the video on screen now to find out how Pepsi did what Sprint couldn't.